All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Adronis Advancement Classroom. If I can just invite everybody now in the front row just to go ahead and mute your microphones.
Hey guys.
Hi, John Lee. John Lee, is that you?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh,
No,
okay, but I can hear you, so that's good.
it's Mike. It's Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike. Okay,
Yeah.
welcome, Mike. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, if you guys want to just go ahead and mute your microphones, we're going to go ahead and begin with today's class and just kind of giving an overview about what we're going to be talking about. So again, thank you everybody from the front row that's here with us today. And again, thank you everybody who's watching this on Google Plus and on YouTube as well too. So what we're going to be talking about today, let's just make sure we have all microphones muted, guys. All microphones muted. Okay, so again, thank you so much everybody for being here today. This will be the final free Adronis Advancement Classroom that's going to be happening on Google Plus Hangouts. So what we're going to be talking about today, and I've actually added a new topic as well too, is we're going to be talking about a couple different things. We're going to firstly be talking about first contact, then we're going to be talking about the subconscious mind, emotions, feelings, and life enhancement. So Adronis will be coming through here very, very shortly, and he'll be talking relating to the subjects just mentioned. He'll also, again, be interacting a lot with the front row attendees. So everybody here on video chat right now, you guys will be the interactors, so to speak, with Adronis. So just a couple of announcements that's coming up. Again, hope you guys are all enjoying your solstice, Christmas holidays. Tomorrow is the solstice, so looking forward to that. The next Adronis Advancement Classroom is going to be in about 3 weeks' time, so it'll be right around the close to the part of the middle of January, and this is going to be held on anymeeting.com. So there will be a event page that will be created on my website where you guys can go ahead and tune in to the next Adronis Advancement Classroom. Now it's going to be a little bit more different in configuration, and again, it's going to be a paid classroom, but it's going to be something that's going to have a lot more features to it. A lot of it will actually involve personal channeling for everybody. So there will actually be kind of miniature channeling classes involved in the Adronis Advancement Classroom. There will also be meditation techniques that you guys are going to be taught as well too, and we're also going to be looking into light circuitry as well in the classroom, which you guys will learn also. So it's going to be a lot more advanced for the Advancement Classroom. So this is, again, will be a paid classroom, but there's going to be a lot of great features that you're going to be able to take home with you, plus everybody, of course, who does attend the paid classes of the Adronis Advancement Classroom will be able to receive a recording that you'll be able to view forever and ever. So that is the big announcement that's going to be happening here in, again, 3 weeks' time. All right, so today we're going to go ahead and talk on the subjects that were aforementioned. First contact was one that I wanted to add because I just recently did the video called 2016, the Year of Illumination while Channeling Adronis. And there's been a lot of questions on my end about first contact. You say, well, 2016, are we going to see a lot of first contact this year? Is there going to be some more sightings, etc.? And so really just being able to address this particular topic, I think, is a good move for the final free classroom today. Okay, so thank you everybody in the front row for tuning in today. And I will go ahead now and tune into the energies, and we'll bring Adronis through. Basically how it will begin is that I'll be doing some chanting, and Adronis is going to be doing a new type of interaction with all of you once he comes in and introduces himself, and then he'll be giving instructions about what all of you can do in the front row, and of course all of you that are listening. One other thing as well too is that everybody that's listening on YouTube or on the Google Plus event page, there is a Q&A app that you'll find on the bottom of the video screen. You can go ahead and click on that app, and if you guys have any questions for Adronis, then go ahead and post that question through the Q&A app. And once Adronis has finished his presentation today, then we'll be moving into the Q&A segment. Firstly, we'll be taking questions from the people in the front row. After that happens, then we'll be moving on into the Q&A app and answering some questions there as well too. If I don't get around to your questions today for the people in the Q&A app, don't worry about it. You know, there'll be a lot of other opportunities as well too. Usually there's quite a few questions in the Q&A app, and there's quite a few questions from everybody in the front row as well too. So I'll do what I can to manage in getting as much questions in as possible for our final free Adronis Advancement Classroom. Okay, so I will go ahead now and bring Adronis through, and we'll get started. case you guys are wondering, I got this little thing. This is my little coaster. So this thing is a 3D printed flower of life. So I actually have a 3D printer right over here and was able to create this. So it's pretty thick. It's pretty nice. So every time I have a glass of water, I use the coaster, right? It's very nice. Supercharges my water as I get started, so it helps. Helps quite a bit. Okay, guys. So I will go ahead and get started, and we'll begin. Terra Soul Star Canis Major Sirius Adronis We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this particular broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we would like all of you who are tuning in right now to do is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. We will ask you now to perform a calibration with us at this time. This represents what we would term as opening your gates. What we would like all of you who are tuning into this broadcast to do right now is to place both feet firmly on the ground, and please do not cross them, keeping your feet anchored firmly on the ground. You do not have to imagine anything coming out of them in that particular way, such as roots, etc. Just being able to keep your feet rooted very deep to the ground, very firm. We would ask you now to take your right hand and place it on top of the crown of your head. We would ask you to take your left hand and place it upon your heart. We will then count to 3. When we count to 3, you will imagine that your feet are opening up. When we count to 3, you will imagine that your heart center is opening up. When we count to 3, you will imagine that your crown center is opening up. As you feel this opening up, this will be the transmission effect, where you'll be receiving information from your earth through the feet, where you will be receiving information through your heart chakra center, where you'll be receiving information through your crown center, as well as being able to transmit information from all 3 apertures as well. When we count to 3, you will take a deep breath, as deep and as full as you can in through your nose, holding it just for a moment, and then breathing out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. And breathe out. We thank you. You may now bring your hands back into neutral posture. The purpose of being able to open your gates in this particular way is that you not only can bond together and share together your energy with the others that are with you today, but also being able to share yourselves with our frequency, with this conduit's frequency. And this basically represents that of a triad gateway connection, that our energies of Sirius, through the conduit of Brad, and through the energies of all of you, are now transmitted together, triangulum, in that way, together, in this moment, bonded, flowing transmission, projecting, and enveloping all insight that will be brought forward through this transmission today. So we thank you once again for your participation. We will speak firstly on the idea of the subject that you would know as first contact. Now, we have received, in fact, one of the most popular inquiries that we often get is, Adronis, when are we going to be part of a galactic family? When are we going to be initiated into a galactic community? Well, the whole idea in that sense is that we know that through many of you whom we have spoken with, that many of you are incredibly passionate in wanting to connect more with your star brothers. Are you capable of doing this? Absolutely. Is the world capable of doing this right now? Not at all. And that's the difference. Right now, if we are looking at you yourselves, many of you have reached the state of calibration where you are able to have some type of communication, some type of interaction, some type of bonding together with other forms of beings. It does not have to be extraterrestrial. There are many different forms of beings that are communicating with you all of the time. And many of you are able to go into great heights and great lengths relating to initiating a relationship pertaining to such beings. Be them inner earth beings, be them elemental beings, be them extra-dimensional beings, be them extraterrestrial beings, be them angelic consciousness, be them non-physicalized forms of consciousness, what have you. All of those particular aspects of yourself are available based upon the validation that you give yourself in regards to wanting to share such a relationship with such beings. But it is an entirely different story when you're looking at your planet. Understand that in the form of approximation that we have given on average, that approximately around the time of 2050, on average, would be the time of what you would know as global first contact. Now, there have also been, in that sense, other particular types of calculations that this could take place by 2045 or 2046. This is also possible. So again, this is why we are saying it's give or take a few years around the time of the average point between 2050. Now, Adronis, why is it that we have to wait approximately 30 years before global first contact can happen? Because you have a lot of work to do on your planet. We know many of you in that sense are awoken. We understand many of you are going through incredible leaps and bounds spiritually. But that's all part of your journey to helping others. There is much work to be done upon your planet. In order for you to qualify for the idea of a global first contact, the systems that you know upon your planet right now must transition. So we are referring to your monetary system altogether. That must transition. We're referring to the idea of your political systems as it exists right now. That must transition. We're referring to the idea of personal prejudice, racism, sexism, etc. The idea of inequality and separation through the idea of all other members of your planet. That must transition. We are referring to the pollution effect that is taking place upon your planet in regards to heavy pollutants, heavy toxins that are within your oceans, that are within your ground, that are within your atmosphere. This must transition. We are talking about being able to develop more of a co-creative habitat between yourselves, your animals, and your nature, and being able to help regenerate nature as Mother Earth begins to tranquilize herself, begin to serenely connect herself back into the energies of harmony. This must transition. We are talking about your educational systems as they stand right now, to allowing yourselves to connect beyond the idea of what you would know as classrooms, or the idea of buildings, or the idea of certifications, or the idea of diplomas, or the idea of PhDs, etc. This must transition. We are talking more so in the idea about all of you coming together in community, being able to share and serve with each other. This must transition. But most importantly, we are asking all of you to come together with yourselves, to understand that you have the capability to operate yourself, to run your own life, to faculty yourself in any particular way you see fit based upon openness, love, trust, and appreciation. This must transition. Now, just all of that together would take a couple of decades. So again, this is giving you the idea that there is much more work to do. And this is, shall we say, just the tip of the iceberg. There is still much more that needs to be done upon your planet. But altogether, it represents the idea of mutual cooperation. If you cannot get along with the people of your planet, how do you expect to get along with other people beyond your world? It can't happen. It's when the Earth herself and her children upon it are able to work together in harmony, where they are able to see that every particular person that is upon your planet, wherever they may be upon the world, regardless of race, creed, religious fundamental, etc., are all able to coexist. That truly is the social experiment that's going on your planet right now. Yes, Mother Earth is a social experiment. And that is why all of you are here from different worlds, from different dimensions, from different realities, from different realms, who have all come here to cooperate, to co-create together, to realize that even though you have differences in path, you are one in the same in regards to soul, one in the same as it relates to mind, one in the same that represents spirit, one in the same that represents a human race. So you are all here on this planet to get along with each other, to start working together, to no longer feel that you have to give your power to the idea of a very seductive system that says, just give your power away to us and we'll take care of the rest. We'll make everything happen for you. And this is what you have done. And this is the result of doing that. And this is why many of you are completely unsatisfied with the system, because you have given your power away to other people who felt that they will therefore run the game for you. And now you're seeing the effects. But again, this is a wonderful thing, because now you can't be fooled into that area any further. And this is all part of playing the idea of this game, this social experiment of duality. That once you learn something in a very deep extreme that has heavily impacted your life, you have learned from that very profound experience that you will never repeat it again. And so this is where you are as a culture. This is where you are as a civilization. This is where you are as an individual. This is where you are as a collective. So the idea of first contact simply relates to the idea that once we start to see that your world is profoundly changing, this is giving yourselves the invitation for you to therefore notice, oh my goodness, other civilizations exist. So basically, throughout the years ahead, you're going to start getting hints. You're going to start having breadcrumbs laid down upon you. Because as we have said quite a few times, we will not be making first contact with you. You will be making first contact with us. You are the ones who are going to decide and unfold and state, yes, on behalf of a world collective here on planet Earth, we have cleaned up our world. We are working together with our Earth. We are working together with ourselves. We have developed systems that are in cooperation together with every man, woman, and child. We are living in states of prosperity. We no longer fight over the idea of resources or the idea of anything else that represents calamity or conflict. We are moving more together in the idea that everybody is created equal, and that we are a unified culture, and that we are assisting everybody across the world. And we now receive the hints, we now receive the tidbits and the breadcrumbs that many of the galactic civilizations have been leaving for us. We are now ready to proceed in beginning negotiations with communicating with other beings upon our world and beyond it. So, being able to see this gives you a hint about what's to come in the years ahead. You will be notified that other civilizations exist before first contact. You will be notified of certain forms of dossiers and documents of specific races that exist prior to first contact. You will be aware of the type of spacecraft that is in orbit of your planet, both integrated through your own Earth alliances and extraterrestrial alliances before first contact. You will be aware of other particular planets that sustain first, second, third, and fourth density life upon their surface before first contact. So, this is again helping you to understand the game, helping you to understand that there are other collectives of beings that exist beyond your world and, of course, upon your world as well, watching you incognito, to helping you further yourselves. So you will become aware of this. This is not to say that, well, between now and the next 30 some odd years of our time, it must be really, really boring. No. You are going to be very excited because you are going to see all of this spill out. Many of you refer to this as a data dump. Well, that is basically what's going to be happening here within a very short time ahead. Many of you, by approximately the time of 2020, will become very aware on a very advanced level about other civilizations, about who is actually orbiting your world, who is upon your world incognito. So again, around the time of 2020, many of you will start to see this. Now, it's unclear if that may be mainstream at the time, but certainly you will start to see the peaks relating to a little bit more advanced information that is becoming more available throughout your internet, throughout your data dumps in that sense, that will actually have this information contained. So again, between now and the next 30 years, there's a great deal of information for you to discover. There's a great deal of information that will help you to understand, oh my goodness, yes, we're seeing this now. All of these particular types of extraterrestrial civilizations are now making themselves known. That is not to say in that sense that we will be sitting on our hands. We will certainly orchestrate the idea through the idea of routine schedule in regards to what has been established through collective agreement to share in more sightings, and that there will be certain sightings taking place. Again, throughout 2016, we are predicting a very large-scale sighting that will be taking place. The location is still, in that sense, up in air. However, it may be very possible that you may find that this particular sighting may be close to the idea of what you would know as your east coast of your North America. The idea area in that sense may be that of New York City. But again, there are still plans that are up in the air based upon the synergetic, based upon that sense, the permissions that can therefore come together. Now we will open the floor in regards to a type of interaction. Would anybody within the front row like to explain or would like to share a particular experience that they have had relating to other beings that perhaps they can't explain or have introduced themselves to them? Would anybody like to share?
I would. It's JC. I've been having a real lucid reoccurring dream where I've been picked up by either Yael or Esasani Chikani, and then I'm with them on the ship, and then I'm with them learning, experiencing, and I'm with someone else that I know, and I've shared the dream with him. And when we come back, but we look like a Yael or an Esasani, and we come off the ship together. And when we come off the ship together, like, I've seen two versions of it. One where we come out as our Yael self, and then it's almost like it's a suit that opens up, and then you see both of our human incarnations, our current human incarnation form. And then in another dream, I've seen it where we come out as our human form, and then from that dissolves the human form, you see our Yael as our incarnation, if you will.
All right, we were not able to hear that last part.
The last part was the inverse of the dream was when we come out of the ships, we are as our human incarnation, but our human incarnation dissolves, and then you see our Yael or our Chikani.
All right. We thank you very much for your sharing. Would anybody else like to share?
Yes, Brad. Hi, this is Wendy. Can you hear me okay, Adronis?
Yes.
I've been experiencing, and I wanted to ask about the relationship to the symbols and symbology in the respect to scribed light languages, as far as I'm feeling as if, or wondering if, are they actually entities themselves, or are we simply tapping into what we're feeling as if like for example, a library of languages, if you will, where we're sort of experiencing all of them at the same time, or are these specific individual entities or civilizations, or perhaps collectives contacting us?
In a majority sense, relating to the idea of what you would know as light language, and we will cover more of this in the Q&A, but overall the idea in that sense of these light language symbols that many of you receive are in fact holographic. And so basically what that means is that they are transmissions. They can often be sent through the idea of, shall we say, conscious to conscious relay between one being and another, and sometimes they're also what you would know as a product of artificial intelligence. So this can also represent the idea of an artificially intelligent relay, very similar to how you would understand a satellite dish in that particular way, is therefore transmitting this particular type of information directly into the matrix of yourself, and you are therefore receiving that type of symbol. It is true that yes, these particular types of symbols have a livingness quality to them. But again, we can look into that a little bit further through your Q&A time. Thank you. Would anybody else like to share? All right, we thank you very much for the volunteers and sharing. Please feel free now to mute your microphones. We will now move on into the second part, the second discussion, representing that of the subconscious mind. Now, the idea in that sense of the subconscious mind represents that which truly is the database of all that represents relationship as you understand your collective to be. The subconscious mind altogether represents all aspects, all knowing, all memory, all information that is intertwined together through what your collective understands in relationship. So basically, the subconscious mind is reminding you of these particular types of patterns. The conscious mind is basically what you would refer to as the dot, the very small dot, directly in the center of an enormous circle. And that the enormous circle represents the circle of relationship, representing that of the subconscious mind. Beyond the circle represents true void, which is that of the unconscious, which is beyond that which you could understand as fathomable relationship. So the subconscious mind works together to develop relationship in regards to what you're saying, or what you're seeing, or what you're feeling altogether. The subconscious mind basically exists in that state of a surrealness. The subconscious mind therefore doesn't give the idea of feeling that it is therefore tangible. It is something that can represent an idea complex. It is something that represents your conscience. It is something that can represent intuition. It is something that can give you certain degrees of answers, but is seen in the idea of the reflection of peripheral understanding. So when you are working together with your subconscious, it is indeed possible for you to bring more of the subconscious into yourself. And the conscious self, basically on how it is configured, is that it is representing itself as a filter. So basically looking at all of these chutes that are contained within the conscious mind, and that each of these chutes contains a filter. This may represent family, this may represent finance, this may represent philosophies, this may represent memory in regards to histories, etc. All of these particular types of filters are contained within the conscious mind. And the conscious mind therefore decides what's appropriate for it to therefore believe in, for it to be certain of. And it is always going through the funnels of the vacuum when it pertains to subconscious understanding. So the subconscious mind itself is always in a state of being able to feed you information. It is a field. And through this particular type of subconscious information field, you have a universe to explore. We would ask all of you once again, for we have another question for all of you. Has there been a subconscious experience that has stuck with you in some point of your life that has been profound? So what we mean by that, is there anything that you felt you have received that you felt was profound, perhaps did not act on, or already know that the idea itself was profound? An innovation in that way.
Adronis, this is Jonalie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, one of the things that I have become more aware of is that little tidbits of information that I have gleaned or came to my awareness over the course of my entire life have been of significance. One of those is the year of my birth. Another is the interactions I've had with several people, particularly one named Jewel. And then the thought, as you were speaking earlier, when I was about 5 years old, that my mother and father were actually some type of animal in a human suit. So I'm wondering if that was strictly my imagination or if that happened to have an element of truth to it.
Well, here's the thing, is it is imagination, but it has imagination with truth in it. So that's the whole idea of why it feels surreal. So again, it is a very good thing that you have brought this up, because this is something we will elaborate a little bit further relating to the subconscious, imagination, and what's real. So thank you for sharing.
You're
Does anybody
welcome.
else have another particular perspective they would like to share on this?
I too am finding, hi Adronis, this is Wendy.
Yes.
I too am finding in the synchronicities, I am discovering that they seem to bring me, I want to say back to, but I realize time is, everything is now and simultaneous. But I'm discovering that I'm remembering things now from dreams that were, now I'm understanding they weren't dreams at all. They were actual experiences, much as John Lee just mentioned, that they're like information now telling me, it's almost as if they're telling me now, okay, that was not really a dream. We were there with you. Yes, you were there. We had an interaction.
Correct. We thank you both very much. Does anybody else have something they wish to share?
Adronis, if I may, this is Jonalie.
Yes.
I do have a question. Within the last week or
Well,
two.
we will save the questions for the Q&A period.
Oh,
right
okay,
now, we
sure.
just want to look at it. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right, we will ask all of you
Hi.
now to mute your microphones, or do we have one last sharing here?
Yeah, hi, this is Ufuk.
Yes, Ufuk.
My question is, how can we actually experience the subconscious when it is subconscious?
As we stated, this will be a question that will be reserved for the Q&A period.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. We would ask all of you now to mute your microphones, and we will again comment in regards to the information that Jonalie had just shared, because this is a very important factor in regards to what we are going to discuss relating to the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind, again, as we have stated, represents a surreality in that particular way, the feeling of it being surreal. And as it feels surreal, many in that sense cannot relate to it because it has one particular aspect that cannot be related to. Do all of you know what that is? What is the one aspect that the relationship of the surreal cannot be accepted as?
Is it truth?
The idea of it being real.
Real.
That's the idea. Because again, this is why many people feel that this is just my imagination, this is just a fantasy, this is just something that maybe I just made up in the top of my head, maybe this is just something I saw on a TV show, etc. But the whole idea in that sense, again, pertaining to Jonalie's example, is that imagination and truth do in fact go hand in hand. The reason being is because your imagination has been seen as a fantasy creation device. And many of you feel that it is fantasy, and because it is surreal, that it has no tangibility in reality. Incorrect. It does, in fact, have quite a tangibility because you are therefore experiencing it. Now, everything that simply represents the aspect of real is that which you experience. And if you feel that something that is surreal, something that is telling you, perhaps in a dream, that, oh my goodness, my mother and father were being portrayed as animals. Well, we understand that in physical reality, they're not going to grab a zipper and start peeling down a costume and all of a sudden they turn into a dog. It's not giving you that particular type of understanding. But what it is attempting to translate to you is that there is an instinctive quality. There is an aspect pertaining to who they are that gives a type of animalistic quality that represents perhaps their bonding together with animals, or that they are in that sense behaving in an animalistic instinct in a certain way, shape, or form. So the dreams themselves, even though surreal, even though metaphorical, even in this particular way at times bizarre, are giving you the idea of direct subconscious translations about what you are going through in life. That therefore makes it the real. That imagination that many of you have felt is just a fantasy device is therefore helping you to understand more of the mechanics about what you're tangibly, physically going through the experience of physical reality. So this is why imagination is one of the greatest tools that you can have at your disposal. Imagination connects together through the subconscious because the imagination forms relationship. No matter how wacky or how bizarre or how out of control or how insane or how surreal something is pertaining to the subconscious, it is in relationship to you. Because if all that was made of you is the conscious self, you would not have a very prolific experience because the conscious self is very, very, very limited. It only understands what it has put buildings or, again, foundations around. Here is the building that represents how I can progress in my job. Here is the building that tells me about my financial situation. Here is the building that has all the information relating to how I see relationships, etc. And they are all contained inside this perimeter fence. And this represents the conscious self. But now if you zoom out, you see all of this land, you see all of this territory that is thousands and thousands and thousands of times larger than that itty-bitty little plot of land that has a perimeter fence around it with a few different buildings. This is giving you the idea in an analogy of the conscious self in comparison to the subconscious self. And beyond that is the entire universe that represents the unconscious. So the subconscious's job is to create an idea of relationship through the idea of the unconscious. It is utilizing all of the unconscious to helping develop relationship peripherally for yourself. So this is why when you go through your dreams, this is why when you have these wonderful states of imaginative innovations, when you basically have these visions, etc., all of this can pertain to the subconscious. Your own conscience, your own guidance in that sense, again, is subconsciously guiding you. And it's only called the subconscious because it has not yet materialized into conscious physical reality. But it certainly has the capability of doing that, which means this. You have the capability to design something in the subconscious that can therefore come into the conscious world. This is indeed a fact. In order for this to happen, you must first put enough energy in the idea of whatever it is that you want to create subconsciously and put enough focus, enough energy, enough passion, enough drive, enough feeling into that subconscious creation. And as you do so, your reality through perspective will lead you into a type of version that is coalescent with that particular type of creation, that manifestation that you have put together in the subconscious astral plane. So, by building something astrally and having great significance and great detail behind it, and putting all of your loving energy, all of your focus upon that particular type of energy, and being able to act through that focus that you are putting together relating to that certain situation, you will notice that this will indeed manifest in coordination and within compatibility of your physical reality. This is how many people in that sense become what you would know as self-made millionaires, because they are so passionate in being able to create, to invent something so profound that they create it within their imagination, which means that this is therefore being created in the astral planes. And now, because they have so much focus, so much energy, so much drive to make this happen, they follow their intuition, and the actions that they create through that effect therefore generate this manifestation into physical reality. Oh my goodness, now I have all of these meetings, now I'm talking to all of these people, now I'm getting these particular types of contracts to design, to create a building, etc. And now everything is being put together because they have created this within their subconscious mind. Their subconscious mind is the idea factory, and it's now building the blocks relating to the foundation of that which you wish to manifest. That is what the subconscious mind can do for you. That is what your imagination can do to you. Now, many of you feel that, well, again, Adronis, imagination is just a fantasy device. Imagination is responsible for you creating everything that is in part a part of your reality. For you experiencing everything that is a part of reality required imagination. So being able to reflect upon that, is that not giving you the idea that the imagination is in that sense a wonderful building or a wonderful creation tool? That's how it functions. That's the purpose of imagination. It is not to feel that you are just spending time floating through space and meeting interesting beings through your imagination. Yes, in some reality that is taking place. But the idea in that sense is that if you can imagine it, it exists somewhere. Again, we understand that many of you still can't perceive the absolute vastness that creation is. It is extremely vast to the point of manyness, which represents that it is incalculable about what you can conjure up through imagination. And that the idea of new relationships being established to the subconscious are happening all the time. Relationships of new themes, of new aspects of character, all coming together are constantly happening. Your void in regards to meaning, in regards to comprehension, is expanding all of the time. And so there will always be these aspects helping yourselves along to create, to manifest. So if we were to look at the idea of the conscious and the subconscious, the conscious is the filter. The subconscious is the relationship bubble that forms all around you. And in order for you to make more contact with the subconscious mind, what do you have to do? Anybody?
Remove the filters between the conscious and subconscious.
How do we do that?
Examining your belief systems, and those are the filters.
How do we do that?
Well, we determine what we feel about something, and you cannot have feelings unless you have a belief about something. And if you feel something and it's not in alignment, it's like a threat. It points to the filter, so to that belief system, and you bring it to the conscious and work on it and integrate it so it doesn't affect you anymore.
Very good explanation, very good. But it even comes down to very, very simple explanation. If we truly want to bring the subconscious into ourselves, befriend your imagination. That's it. That's all you have to do. Befriend your imagination, because now if you start to see your imagination as a valuable tool, as something that you see as an ally, everything pertaining to feeling will start to dissolve. You'll start to question everything, as you just stated, pertaining to the belief systems and the feelings associated together. And we will be getting into this in just a moment. But the more that you are able to express yourself and ally yourself with the imagination, the more that you are able to see that the subconscious is now becoming your reality. Well, Adronis, does that mean everything in my reality will change? Yes, it does indeed. One moment. Understand that all of you are going on a particular journey, and that everything that the world creates are these shifting mirrors of perception. They are the shifting mirrors of catalysts that are helping you to understand more of yourself. The earth is vast in regards to so much relationship and themes that it can explore. And that the imagination is the conduit. It is the vehicle that will help you to unfold yourself and see more of Earth than you can possibly imagine. So the imagination is taking you there. So it is when you feel that you have these belief systems together to make you feel that you are confined inside a box that restricts you. And the conscious self says, well, no, 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 Joe, Jenny, we built all of these buildings. And all of these buildings are telling me how I see relationship, how I see finances, how I see my career, etc. It's time to bulldoze those buildings to the ground and build something new. So this is basically the idea of what you would know as the deconstruction as it represents your own belief systems. And this is where we are getting into feelings and into emotions. So emotions themselves are very, very protective of the buildings that are currently established within your perimeter fence of the conscious mind. The emotions themselves can get very, very out of hand if you so much as scratch the building. What are you doing? Do you know how long it took me to build that? Now you put a scratch on the building. This is awful, etc., etc., etc. So the emotions represent the gatekeepers. They are the foundation caretakers. They are the ones that are going through the building and making sure everything is organized. And when something is out of place, the emotions create this incredible voltage of energy. And now this becomes their reality based upon that particular type of situation. And now they are revolting. They are completely beside themselves because something is out of place. So in order for you to deconstruct these particular buildings so that you can expand and gather yourself more so with the subconscious self, you need to convince yourself that the feelings that you no longer prefer are not that which is genuine to yourself. So feelings and emotions. Now we have talked about this before. The idea of feelings is that they represent what you would know as the ripe concept, the ripe flow that represents an idea. The emotions themselves are what you would know as overstacked feelings. They are all feelings that have been buried deep down. They have been swallowed and they have been fermenting and stacking themselves up as it relates to a particular type of course of theme. So when you basically have an emotional outburst, this is the idea that very similar to an old board game that you used to play, through the idea of where you are stacking a bunch of blocks on top of each other, and then you put that one little block on top, and now the entire foundation collapses. This is basically an emotional state. That one little block that creates the collapsing of the entire structure represents an emotional outburst, because you have done so well attempting to keep everything balanced, keep everything just completely fermented inside of yourself until that little trigger now places itself on top. And now the foundation collapses. And this is emotional release. And this is where the emotions themselves are looking to now be expressed. It is the idea of an erupting volcano. Why does this happen? Because your body couldn't take any more. Your own mind couldn't take any more. Your own psyche couldn't take any more. You yourself couldn't take it anymore. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back, as you say. And so this emotional release starts to happen. So when it is emotion, it is a stacking of feelings. So a feeling by itself, if we were to look at a scale, would be very much within the green. If we started to, again, feel more feelings and place that within ourselves and it starts to ferment, now it starts getting into the yellow. Now we start swallowing down more feelings that we don't prefer, and we start storing it up majorly, and now it starts going way off into the red. And that the meter here, the needle here, is almost ready to break. One more feeling comes in. Poof! The scale breaks. Emotional outburst. Does not matter if you are introversial or extroversial. This will burst. And this is basically how the emotions themselves play along. The emotions are telling you you have stacked up so much feeling relating to this, and you have kept this buried so far, so deep within yourself that now a chain reaction has bursted. And when this particular emotional outburst comes together, that building within your perimeter fence starts to wobble. It starts to shake, just like it's being hit together with your own personal earthquake. And as this starts to be vented, as this starts to be purged, as this starts to be released, and you are holding space with this emotional outburst and letting it all out, at the end, the building crumbles to the ground. So, basically, when you are going through these particular types of emotional outbursts, whatever it may be, the change of your career, the passing of a loved one, the problem with finances, relationships, etc., whatever it may be, let it all out. Don't feel that you need to contain that particular type of emotional state, because all you're going to be doing is building up that particular aspect and preventing the releasing of that emotion again. When you have these emotional outbursts, when you have these purges taking effect, they are telling you that this is a dismantling that's happening. This is a dismantling of yourself, a dismantling of a particular form of aspect within the conscious mind that is allowing all of this energy to come out. This may allow you to get angry, upset, sad, tearful, etc. All of that needs to come out. It's being released. And when it has been fully released, and now you look at it, you're no longer angry anymore. You're no longer upset because you have let all of the energy out. Here's the idea. Your emotions and your feelings have mass. We mean this 100%. They have mass. They are energy. And so when you are actually venting this particular energy out, your body will change. This is actually being able to see your body actually reshaping itself. When you let out these emotional releases, when all the feelings have been stacked up for so long and now an emotional purging comes out, your body starts to change. So when we say that you're having an emotional outburst, this in the long run truly is something that's very beneficial. As long as you're able to respect yourself and knowing that you are holding your space and you are allowing yourself to deal with this particular emotions. It does not represent any particular type of benefit if you are lashing out emotionally at another person, because what that is doing is that is causing that other person to now inherit all of that particular type of emotional spilling that you are therefore conducting. When you feel the point of an emotional outburst, and if you are in front of a lot of people, leave. Go into a space that you feel can be appropriate for you to hold space for yourself. If you feel that another person is therefore experienced and wants to help you, then that will be your choice. But they, in that sense, must know how to firstly hold space. If they do not know how to hold space, do not ask them to come with you. Be in your own space and allow the emotions to express themselves. Only a person who truly knows how to hold space can deflect the emotional energies that are coming out of you. Because if they don't know what they're doing, they will absorb that into themselves. This is how people feel guilty or grief in regards to someone who has outbursted in that particular way. They've just taken in those emotional assignments and they've made it their own. Now they've stacked those particular types of feelings into themselves. Emotions are contagious. They are. And you're actually feeling that energy. And we ask any of you, have you ever had a situation where you notice someone is outbursting heavily in emotion and that you're now starting to feel exactly what they are venting? Anyone?
Most definitely, Brad, Adronis, and I'm actually experiencing right now as you're speaking the feeling of both sides of that, because I too was on the other side of that and was the person doing the emotional outburst, and it just recently happened. So thank you for the synchronicity of this, to see both sides of this and the energy released, because it's not something I allow myself to do very, very rarely, and it was very powerful.
Correct. Anybody else?
I have seen it. I would say for the past month. I don't necessarily feel emotions because I'm not a very emotional person. So I tend to see things in the third point of view. I see others interacting and going at it, and I see that they affect one another. But it's been going on quite a lot.
So you have developed yourself as an observer, yes?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not affected by it.
All right, very good. Then you would therefore be a good example of one in that sense who can hold space for another. So basically, when we are stating that one is holding space, it requires the particular aspect of a certain skill. That skill represents imperturbability, which means the inability to be affected of anything negative or positive as it relates to the idea of emotional distress. You are basically in your center point. You are in observation. You are simply holding space. Now again, the idea is that your willingness to do so is that of love. But it is not in that sense that which is being faltered, or in that sense being picked up through the idea of the emotional release. But we can understand through many of you, through some point of your life, that you have had the aspects of you actually being able to have emotional outbursts and putting it upon other people, or again others who have had emotional outbursts and putting that upon you. Again, you are dealing with a very powerful energetic here. Emotions themselves are very, very intense. Again, it is like the highest voltage that you can imagine relating to energy. This is another reason in that sense why many other beings in that sense do keep their distance from a majority of human beings, because many of you are emotional generators. And through the emotions that you expand, when a being actually gets caught up into that particular type of emotion and gets involved with it, they now tether themselves upon the earth plane, which means that other beings that basically have other particular responsibilities beyond your world, if they decided to actually come down and interact together with you and generate some type of involvement of emotional response, and they become involved in that, they are now karmically tied to the earth plane. That's basically what it is. And so this is why many beings keep their distance. It's why many beings in that sense communicate with you just as we're communicating with you through this channeling state. That they do not want to get involved in regards to humans that are heavily emotional. And because you are such powerful beings, these emotions are very overwhelming for many other beings who have never experienced a strength, a voltage of emotion like that before. So they will actually tether themselves to the earth plane and they will become karmically involved, which means that the next time they incarnate on the earth plane because they are still holding on to those particular types of karmic ties. So getting back to what we are stating relating to the idea of emotional outburst is that the idea in that sense of allowing yourself to vent, to letting yourself hold space and release all of this particular type of emotional outburst and sending it up into the ethers and letting it be purged. Then again, once all of that happens, you're feeling a lot more lighter. And many of you may notice that after you have this huge emotional outburst, you feel lighter. You feel lighter than air. You feel like a feather afterwards. That's basically because, again, that particular property that was in your perimeter fence of the conscious mind has now plummeted. Now you have the opportunity to plant a new seed and expand your territory by allowing that emotional outburst to happen. So when a person may come up to you and saying, oh, that's okay, don't cry, everything's going to be okay, they are not doing you a service. And we want all of you to be very, very mindful of this. When you may notice that a person who may in that sense, for example, has lost a loved one, and basically many of you may come up and they are saying, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this has happened to you. Poor you. This is such a sad time to be here. This is such a sad time that this has happened. You're adding more of those feelings on top of them when they are attempting to purge it. This does not help. This is why we would suggest to all of you, when a loved one passes the plane, our particular suggestion, do not grieve. When you grieve, you are anchoring in so many energies that are still tethering them karmically to the earth plane. They are not able to pass on into source energy because your own feelings, your own heavy emotions of feeling sorrowful, of feeling guilty, of feeling grief, of feeling sadness, of being so unbelievably upset is basically throwing all of these chained anchors onto their energy and grounding them and pulling them back into the earth plane. You are not doing them a service, and you're not doing yourself a service. So basically, we understand that when the physical body retires and that the spirit itself is looking to return back into that which is known as heaven, of source energy, of source consciousness, of the isness, then many of you feel sad because you feel that his or her physical presence can no longer be there. Incorrect. The idea in that sense is that when you truly feel that love of that being, they are always with you. But because you have become so attached to the idea of their physical nature, you feel that they are abandoning you, that they are leaving you behind. No. A caterpillar that manifests itself into a butterfly has to go through that cocoon stage, that metamorphosis. The exact same thing with the human body or with any other particular type of living being on your planet. That the idea of the passing of the vessel is all part of the conclusion of their operation in this life. The conclusion of this life that was part of the social experiment called planet Earth. Rejoice in the memories that they have given you. Rejoice in everything that they have shared with you that has allowed you to love them so deeply. Rejoice in the fact that they have not leaving you, because they're not. That aspect of their energy will always be with you. But Adronis, I may not always be able to feel it. The reason why you can't feel it is because you have contaminated yourself with so much grief and so much involved degrees of feeling that is preventing you from feeling their energies around you. You are basically numbing yourself with an opposed feeling that has nothing to do with you. It is all part of the premise of attachment. So the more that you are able to allow this emotional release to take place, to happen, the more that you start to feel lighter, and the more that, again, wondrous things can take place. Because now you can sense that that wonderful being that passed this plane can therefore visit you again. Because you have reached that point now where that barrier that you put together, that field of emotions, has now been dropped. And now they can enter your field. And now they can connect with you. Now they can communicate with you. It is actually very common that loved ones who have passed away will actually return for that loved one as a spirit guide. Because that loved one, in that sense, wants to make sure that they can help you in that particular way, to helping you move throughout your life in that way. So this is what emotional release will do. And this is what we recommend for everybody. Give yourself time to understand your feelings. Give yourself time to understand your emotions. As you do this, you will start to see that, yes, there will be triggers coming into your reality that will create these emotional outbursts. Again, find a space of love. Release that feeling. Hold space for yourself. And as you do, new seeds can be planted. As these new seeds are planted, the perimeter fence expands and continues to expand. And you can do this in every particular theme of your life. Now, some may say, well, Adronis, we may not need a lot of emotional release in regards to what it is that I'm attempting to transcend. No, you actually do. But the whole idea in that sense is that you're not in the vibration at this particular time to actually indulge yourself into that particular factor of emotional release. So you may look at something in that sense that may have happened many, many years ago, and that at this particular time you do not feel that particular connection to emotionally release. Don't force yourself into it. Let that particular aspect visit you when it is ready and time for it to release. When you feel that loving energy of release, when you feel that aspect of being upset or feeling guilty or feeling angry pertaining to whatever that old event was many years ago in your past is now starting to affect you now, invite it in. Turn the key, open the door, and let that energy inside. Many people feel that, well, maybe I'll just do a light little tweaking here of a feeling in regards to this huge event that left me so traumatized, and that's me healing it. No. And here's the thing, and this is why we say no, because of the law of equivalent exchange. So this is giving you the idea and then saying that maybe I looked back at 5 years old where I was mistreated, where I was traumatized in that particular way. Oh, but I don't have to care about that. I'm 35 years old right now, and I'm feeling great, and I've only just given a little bit of a flutter pertaining to that aspect. It's all good. For right now, it's all good, yes, because you're not particularly bothered by that. Does that mean that that cycle when you were 5 years old and were traumatized is going to come together back to you in some particular point of your life? Yes, it will. And it will impact you, and it will have a very strong effect on you. Because in order for you to truly release something that has been traumatizing, you must allow the trauma of all of that emotion to come back up. So again, we understand that many of you don't want to have to do that. I don't really want to have to feel all of this emotional pain. I don't want to have to feel all of this outburst and unleashing it. It took all of that particular type of emotional pain to make that trauma what it is as a trauma. So again, it's not about wishing that emotion away, wishing all of that energy away. You've stored it inside yourself because you've called it a trauma when you were 5 years old. Because that's a trauma, it requires a great amount of emotional release to happen, to take place, to evacuate that energy. It's not about the idea that I'll sprinkle a little bit of love right here and it's done, it's over with, I'll just put it in the closet, it doesn't need to be here anymore, it's done, it's over. No, it will come back. It will have a particular cycle where it will visit you again, and when you notice those feelings are coming up, hold space for yourself. Allow the emotional release to happen. It is basically, again, no more different than, shall we say, energetic vomiting. It is being able to release a lot of that particular form of energetic vomit. We understand this may be somewhat disgusting for you, but this is truly the truthfulness of the matter. This is why, again, that there will be changes in the physical body, because all of that energy creates some type of manifestation. It could be a kink in the shoulders, it could be a ruptured disc, it could be a neck ache, it could be a really bad migraine, etc. These all represent the forms of stagnant energy. You're not just getting them for the heck of it. You're getting them because these are all stored up spaces. These are all vaults that have contained these particular energies based upon the precise theme of trauma that has taken place. And so the emotions themselves are therefore being invited to express themselves. And this is what we often want to say more so to the males rather than the females. To the males themselves, it is not weakness if you express yourself emotionally. It is more weakness if you keep it bottled in. Simply because you're not giving yourself the permission to look inside yourself when those emotions come up. Look towards many of your females. Women have tremendous experience with this. So men, if you feel that you're having problems in being able to share yourselves and share your emotions, go to your women. Go to them and talk to them. And they are wanting to help you. They are telling you all about the construct of emotion of feelings. They have gone through so much themselves from many whom we have personally talked to. Talk to them and let them help you and let them guide you through this aspect. And it is okay to cry. It is okay to feel angry. It is okay to feel upset. It is okay to feel fearful. Hold space for yourself and allow that emotion to purge. This will therefore lead into the idea of life enhancement, which is again our final subject here. The idea of life enhancement is the result of all of your purging, is the dismantling of all of the big buildings, all of those structures that have been contained in this perimeter fence. And now all of these buildings are falling down, and now new seeds are being planted. And now life enhancement is allowing these new sprouts to grow, which means that everything that represented those old buildings, those old systems, are an old paradigm. It is a gate that has now been slammed down. It is an iron wall that has now been slammed down. And you are no longer in that vibration to be into that old paradigm. This is again where we can see that through many of you, you have seen profound shifts, profound changes through yourself. And congratulations for that. Because you will never be going through those old paradigm shifts ever, 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 ever again, because you have sealed it. It is an impenetrable iron wall. No matter what you attempt to do with it, you can beat your fists against it all you want, you're not going to be back in it. That particular aspect has passed. This is where synchronicity is aligning you into new ventures, into life enhancement. You're starting to see again the shrubs, the sprouts, the trees, the plants, etc., that represent your new wilderness of the conscious self emerging. You're having grassroots effects taking place here. So the whole idea about what is taking place here is the understanding that synchronicity is moving you up into an ascent. You're no longer going all the way down here. Does that mean that you're going to have always good days? No. You will have challenging days, of course. But think of it in the idea of lines. That if this was the idea of your old paradigm line that represented a descent, a plummet, and you have been able to correct that, now you're up here. Now you may get a little bit of wiggles here and there, but you will no longer be at a point where you will fall to that old line. Right now, through the idea of a life enhancement, you are now living for self-improvement. You are now living to improve yourself. You're no longer living to survive. You're no longer living to just let conflict be gone for one more day before continuing. You're past that. So this is going back into what we have previously talked about as the 4 stages of human spiritual evolution. That the idea that there are firstly those in the pit, and it is a very, very deep pit, and they are frantic. It is very similar to what you would know as your zombie movies. That many people are frantic, they're beating their chests, and they're attempting to attack one another because they feel that only the strong survive, and it's survival, survival, survival. And they are in this very, very deep chasm, deep pit, and they are not able to get out unless they're willing to look into themselves. And those that are looking into themselves will start to build a makeshift ladder and go upon the pit and climb out of that ladder. Climb on top of that ladder and climb out of the pit. As that happens, that ladder now starts to dissolve, because you cannot make another ladder for another person. They have to find their own way out of the pit. So you have been able to come out of the pit, and now you're in the valley. Now you're on solid ground. And now you're starting to question everything. Now you're starting to question reality. Now you're giving yourself time to, again, emotionally vent. Have emotional outbursts. Have this holding space for yourself. Now, after you do that, you're starting to make an ascent. You're starting to become a mountain climber. You're existing now because you're climbing this particular type of mountain and you want to improve yourself. I want to see what's on top of that summit. I want to go to places where nobody else has ever been. I'm excited to be alive. I am thrilled to be here. Life is wonderful. Congratulations. That's what it is to be a mountain climber. One who has the self-improvement mentality. And then you will be at a point where you will reach the summit. At the summit, you are simply I am consciousness. You are simply one with all that is. You are one with the isness. You no longer care about personal drive. You no longer care about passion. You no longer care about the idea of feeling that something needs to be done. You are much more comfortable in being than actually doing. So if we were to give a category to the idea of, again, those people in the pit represent the idea of having and wants. Having and want. I have and want this. I have and want that. I need this. I have this. I want this, etc. When that person comes out of that pit and is on the ground, they are questioning everything. What if? What if? What is? What is? Question, 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 question. Confusion, confusion, confusion. Answer, 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 answer. They are the data miners in that particular way. They are the releasers in that particular way. When you start moving into the mountain and you start climbing it, you are the self-improver. You are improving yourself. You are bettering yourself. You are a doer in that particular way rather than a questioner. So rather than the question, rather than the purging, you are the doer. And you are climbing and you want to do and you want to do and you want to do and you want to take action. You have goals, you have ambitions, you have passions, you have drives. And then it brings you up into the summit where you are being, where you are the I am, where everything is, where there need not be the idea that I need to strain myself with the feeling of what to do next. What do I need to do? You are guided by the universe. You go wherever the universe calls you, and there is no more passion. That's the whole idea. Passion only works to a certain extent. where you truly reach that point of the summit and you just enjoy being. That's not to say that you have to be a quote-unquote hippie without a job or not make any particular type of money, etc. Of course not. You still are doing all of that, but you're doing it at a point that truly is carefree. You are in the alignment of imperturbability, which means nothing affects you. You are basically being here because it is what is, and there is no other reason. So this is the idea of the life enhancement scale, of the idea of the 4 stages of human spiritual evolution. So, life enhancement, however you want to put it, whether you're still on the ground and still asking questions, whether you're climbing that mountain and having much of these great passions and much of these particular forms of ambitions and wanting to do all of this, go for it. Please do, because it's all part of the stage that you're in. You will eventually come to the point where you will be part of the summit folk, where you will be a beer, where you will simply be in the I am consciousness. Everything just is. You allow the world to be what it is. And you share in your own natural way that is comfortable for you. Do you help people? Yes, in your own natural way. Do you help yourself? Yes, in your own natural way, because it's all one and the same. You see others as you see yourself as you see others. And it prospers from that point forward. And this is what enhances life. This is what improves your health. This is what improves your thinking, your mental clarity, your emotional clarity, everything. It's not about the idea of feeling that you need to go into diet first, or that you need to go into exercise first. If I exercise, if I get my diet changed, oh my goodness, this is going to be so wonderful for me. That only works when the mentality and your emotional state, when your own personal psyche is in alignment with changing. If you attempt to force yourself into a diet and basically feeling very uncomfortable in trying to eat healthy, it will not work. If you attempt to force yourself into exercising and knowing that it's a burden to exercise in the advanced ways that you are, it will not work. The only thing that works is when your own state of being is in a state of complement, and that all of the veins that come from the state of being gravitate you into the idea of dietary change, physical exercise change, whatever other particular forms of aspects physically that are coming together with you. That's how you heal. It's when you see everything that you do in complement to yourself. It's not about the idea of taking some type of miracle pill and, oh my goodness, I feel good forever, and that's not going to change. No, because that's still looking for something outside of yourself. It is you yourself that needs to change. It is you yourself that will complement yourself, branching off all of these extensions and saying that I'm doing this because this complements how I feel about myself. The way I eat is how I complement in feeling about myself. The way I work out is the way that I complement myself. The work that I do is how I complement myself, etc. All of that is meant to be complement by what you're feeling through here, through all of this that represents yourself. That is the key to your life enhancement. Let your own state of being guide the way to what is complementary to yourself. We thank you once again for the opportunity of this interaction together today. We will now open the microphones once again for an open Q&A session with our front row audience, and then we will move on into our Q&A application. So to all of those within the front row, should you have any questions for us, please feel free.
Hey, Adronis.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who are we speaking to?
Mike. My name is Mike.
Hello, Mike.
How are you today?
We are wonderful. How are you?
I'm perfect, thank you.
Good.
I have a question about scalar energy. Can we use
Scalar energy?
Sorry?
Scalar energy?
Scalar, okay, yeah. Can we use scalar energy to directly infuse nutrients within our cells instead of eating food?
It depends in regards to how it is configured. Now understand that this really would be what you would know as a path of resistance, rather than a path of least resistance. If you are attempting to use particular forms of scalar energy in that sense that represent, shall we say, certain degrees of aligned fields that can duplicate that, it really doesn't represent in that sense too much of a grand change. So we would recommend more so in the idea of actually being able to ingest the appropriate types of food that's feeding your body. It is true, again, that energetically you can do many different forms in regards to, shall we say, assisting with the idea of energetic field manipulation. But as we just stated, if you aren't simply seeing that as an aspect outside of yourself, that effect will only be short term, regardless in regards to what can be configured energetically through a scalar device. So our particular recommendation is that if you truly want to look into food or in that sense healing yourself in that particular way, your own state of being will grant you the idea of complement into the food that best serves yourself. So again, using a scalar technology is more so in the idea of a crutch or feeling something that again requires a great deal of resistance in regards to long-term effect. Make sense?
Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Somebody has their mic open. Can I,
Yes, may everybody else please mute your microphone so we can hear.
okay,
Thank you.
there, perfect. Okay, my second question is the technology involved in soul switching between bodies. They have a name for it. I don't know what it is, but do you know what I'm talking about? Like taking a soul from a container and then to another.
Yes, you are basically sharing what has been shared in regards to your popular movie known as Avatar, yes?
Yeah, something like that. And I understand our government already has that. Has it.
Yes, that is correct.
Can you tell me a little bit of science behind that, please?
Well, the science basically represents a particular degree of what you would know as somewhat to the degree of quantum technology.
Right.
And again, being able to look more so on the idea of its advanced functioning can be somewhat complicated. But it is basically representing the idea of quantum technology where there is no, shall we say, interruption in regards to agreement, but it is more so on the idea of being able to create what you would know as a quantum capsule and being able to actually embody that quantum capsule in behalf of what you would know as a vacant body. Now, this cannot be done in regards to another body that contains soul in that particular way. It must be that of what you would know as an empty vessel, and there can be, in that sense, compatibility or incompatibility issues. So basically, in the idea of the switching of the soul in that sense, based upon the body, can be somewhat difficult.
Oh, okay, okay,
It
okay.
does represent the idea, very similar to what you have discovered in the movie, as a type of genome match.
Right, right.
So
Okay,
it
I
is
see.
basically what you would know as a quantum capsule, to where the technology in that sense is the mediator between the two aspects. And again, that this is in that sense still a particular type of technology that is looking to be perfected.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Thank you for that. Last question for now. Is there a civilization on Neptune or sorry, on Uranus?
On Uranus,
Yes, Uranus.
not on the planet directly, but there are in that sense orbiting moons or what you would know as orbiting stations that do sustain life.
Okay, is it from Earth?
There are in that sense visitations from beings from Earth at times, yes.
Oh,
But the
okay.
idea in that sense of actually Uranus being able to, shall we say, sustain life once had that possibility, but no longer does. But again, much of the orbiting fundamentals pertaining to the idea of moons and other particular stations that have been constructed do sustain life that, yes, have had visits from beings from your planet, but again, also contain other particular type of life as well, a variety of different humanoid life.
Right. Nice, nice. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Any other questions?
Yes, brother Brad, this is JC. I have a question. Would you have any information on the Plantus species around the Canis Major region?
Could you please repeat your question?
The Plantus from around the Canis Major region, would you have any information on them?
We understand they are in contact with you.
Yes, it was something that came in, and I just been looking on more connections, and then just one connect. Are there any Syrian Lemurian connections with Hawaii, with the Hawaiian Islands, Peruvian Islands, and Mount Shasta, the Telos and Mount Shasta?
There are remnants of that feeling, but more so in the idea of much of the Syrian energy that has affected your culture would be found within the areas of what you would know as South Africa, Peru, and Egypt.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Hi, Adronis. This is Sergey. I had a question. What's the relationship between conscious, subconscious, unconscious, higher self, and the oversoul? And is there any structure between them? Like how the experience flows through all of them, or how do they like interrelate and interact?
The differences truly represent the idea of filters. And again, as we've talked about, the conscious self is only the conscious self because of filters. The subconscious, in what you understand, is only the subconscious because of filters and, in that sense, material of the matrix created that understands its properties in regards to levels. The higher self, in that sense, would be what you would consider to be the liaison between the subconscious and the conscious self. Now, the higher self would be in that aspect what you would refer to as the actual soul of the being in that particular way. This is why we represent an aspect of a higher self for Brad himself. So again, we are not quite what you would know 100% his soul, but we are therefore an aspect of it. So the idea in that sense of the oversoul is that the oversoul has no personality at all. The oversoul is what you would know as the matrix. It is, shall we say, the hive that contains all of these cells that represent its spawned souls that are therefore incarnating and having experiences, being fed back up into the oversoul, and the oversoul functioning as this particular type of database, this proxy, and receiving this information to spread throughout creation.
Okay, and so is there like the same subconscious for like different incarnations of the
There is
same
no
soul?
same subconscious. The subconscious simply is a field. And so again, contained within that particular field is, in that sense, all depending in regards to what the conscious self and their filters are currently aligned to. So there can be times where the conscious self can be, shall we say, expanding in that particular way based upon the principles that it is willing to give in regards to its relationship of the subconscious. But the subconscious will always be the subconscious because it is a field of relationship within the realm of the surreal.
And does that field only interact with the like one incarnation of the conscious?
No, it is part of your matrix that makes you who you are.
So like all other incarnations
Every particular form of incarnation contains the mapping relating to what you would know as conscious to unconscious degrees in that particular way, yes.
And to the same subconscious, basically, not
yes.
like...
All of you, everything that is basically incarnated in the idea of life accesses the subconscious. The subconscious, again, is the relationship field. It is the idea of the surreal. So every particular aspect of being that is incarnated in the life matrix contains this aspect of subconscious information. Now, some of you in that sense have wider or even more so narrow aspects of a conscious field depending upon the entity in question.
Okay, and as you mentioned, the higher self is the mediator between the conscious and subconscious, and then the oversoul is basically above subconscious, and subconscious connects to the
It would be in that
oversoul.
sense on the boundary point from what you would know as the subconscious and the unconscious.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
We thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Adronis. This is Ufuk.
Yes.
When I experience fear, I feel that I am aligning with it, and it causes me to attract more thoughts and ideas
you
and
are
beliefs.
naturally aligned to everything that you feel. So when you are feeling something, it is not outside of yourself that represents a misalignment. So when you are aligning to that particular feeling itself, that is giving you the confirmation that you are experiencing that feeling. So when you're experiencing a feeling, you are aligned to everything that that feeling represents.
Yes, and then it causes me to experience more in greater detail the thoughts that causes more fear as well.
Well, you basically become entrenched in everything that the feeling is attempting to share with you. So as we stated, that when you are emotional, this becomes your reality. If this is your feeling, if this is your emotional state, this is what your reality is when you entrench yourself into it. Everything else pertaining to reality is not embraced, is not focused upon. This is your focus. It's no more different than taking one of those pen lights and shining it upon a dot and seeing that on a wall, and that becomes your reality. That's what happens when you entrench yourself in feeling and in emotional states.
Yes, and so how does it relate to what you said before about emotional release, or that collapsing the building?
That you are not looking to entrench yourself into the feeling itself. That you are simply letting the feelings and the emotions as they are become released. It is you attaching to the feeling, it is you attaching to the emotion that has created the idea of this limitation within the first place. So when you are actually being able to step beyond that and allow the feelings to come out and expressing those feelings as they need to without attaching to them, this is what creates the idea of, in that sense, that particular type of enhancement. So you're not focusing on the idea, but oh my goodness, this feeling is telling me to do this, because what you're doing is you're adding more energy to that feeling. That energy of the feeling becomes your focus. And what does focus do? It adds more energy. It becomes, again, your reality. So the whole idea in that sense is when you're feeling upset, when you're feeling sad, like when you want to cry, just let it happen. Don't worry about attaching to the feelings. Let the feelings share themselves as they need to and allow it to purge. That truly is the quote-unquote strategy if you wish to rebuild yourself.
Yes, thank you. That's very clear. Thank you.
All right. We thank you very much. Any other questions?
Hi, Adronis. This is George from Cleveland. I would like to ask about EIL and hybrids.
Yes.
Children, how they will be populating and merging with us. Are they much similar to us? What kind of social structure they have, hierarchy, freedoms? And I have an idea about it, but if you can give us like an overall perspective.
Well, we will attempt to give you an elevator version in that particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, in the idea of what you would know as approximately your 1950s, another particular race of human beings that existed upon your planet in another parallel dimension came upon your world and discovered that the human race itself was in a particular alignment that would reach a particular aligned agreement that would allow a social experience of a hybridization program to take effect. Certain volunteers were chosen in regards to soulful-based contracts and have been placed upon ships, again, majority of them being female, often being what you would know as the firstborn daughter or the second-born daughter of a particular mother who also represents a volunteer generationally. These particular forms of women, in that sense, that are visited to and in that sense placed upon these ships are therefore going through certain forms of extraction fundamentals. These particular forms of extractions do represent the idea of the removal of a certain ovum. And through that particular type of ovum, there are, shall we say, experiments done in regards to the synthesis of sperm that are in a co-creation manner pertaining to the idea of the human race and into the beings that you would know as the Greys. This particular type of synthesis of semen is therefore injected into the ovum. The ovum is then placed back into the womb of the mother, and through the idea of acceleration of time, you are basically experiencing the idea of the creation of a new life within minutes. As this particular happens, then the baby itself is extracted from the womb of the mother, and then they are therefore placed into the care on board certain spacecraft. Now, certain spacecraft in that sense are working together in, shall we say, different forms of improvements that are happening genetically. And so much of the aspect pertaining to the child is constantly under a state of care, and genetic improvements happen as they move up into what you would know as the infant stage, the adolescent stage, young adult stage, etc. And so they are all particularly refined genetically. They basically represent a very sophisticated intelligence. They are just as emotional as you, because again, they contain your human genetics in that particular way. So they have a very similar genome to yourself, again with certain forms of distinctions pertaining to the beings of the Greys, but they themselves are just human themselves also. So they are not really, in that sense, any much more different than you. So basically, it'd be what you would refer to as a majorly advanced enhanced gray that actually has emotions in that particular way. And they do look a lot more like the human beings. Now, many of them, in that sense, may have larger almond-shaped eyes. Some of them may have pale skin. They may have thinner hair than the idea of, again, your typical human. Their particular form of upbringing is representing themselves in, shall we say, involving themselves together in galactic society, understanding more about how galactic society interacts, more so in the idea of love, more so in the idea that they are going through further stimulations of education when it comes to your mathematics, when it comes to your art, when it comes to your histories, etc. All of this is being taught for them, or in that sense by them, in the idea of, shall we say, a natural habitat, or what you would know as a classroom in that particular way. The classrooms themselves are very holographic, which means that through thought-induced trances, there can be differentiations of changing of themes. Now, as these children are continuing to grow up, they are basically being educated by other particular types of beings, sometimes human beings themselves, about how to interact within human society when that time comes. So, many of the hybrids that have been integrated into the societies that you would know as the Yahyel, the Pla-Yel, the Shikani, etc., are basically being integrated together and are in that sense being conditioned together to assist in being integrated back into human societies. So all of the children will be returning to Earth at a certain point. When that happens in that sense is still, shall we say, average in that way of communication. It would be after the point of what you would know as first contact. So basically, giving the idea of much of these hybrids and why this has happened is the idea of what you would know as the gray beings attempting to preserve their race that represents themselves. But in order for this to happen, and because they can't reproduce, they required assistance from the human beings themselves. So basically, this is also relating to the idea that certain fathers upon your planet have had, in that sense, semen contribution that has therefore been reintegrated. And this is why fathers who have, in that sense, had contributions of semen in that particular way have many different children, because many of these particular fathers that have been chosen through the idea of the contribution of their seed have actually been used over and over and over again. We jokingly use the idea in saying that not one sperm goes to waste. And that's basically the idea of it. That it is not so much in the idea of the traditional way about how life is conceived upon your planet. It is much more conceived in the idea of what you would know as an advanced laboratory, to what is, shall we say, placed upon these ships in regards to the alignment of how these children are therefore propagated. So again, they are learning everything. They are very, very loving. They are very emotional. They are very caring. They are very warm and compassionate. And again, they are very much like your own children, but basically in an environment that is entirely advanced, where they understand more about galactic community, where they understand more about the technology, where they understand more about information as it pertains to other races. So therefore, when you actually start to talk to these children, they will be very much like your own children in that particular type of age group, teenagers, young adults, etc., but operating on a very different level of being, as they are not familiar with your social complex that exists upon your planet. So they will be very different in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. So interesting.
Thank you very much.
It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I please ask a question in relation to that?
Yes.
So are quote unquote labeled autistic and Asperger kids, would they be essentially a hybrid version incarnate into this reality, if you will?
It would depend upon the mother in that particular way. Now, because in that sense, some mothers have actually had the effects of actually being a part of these hybridized experiments, that the idea of the residual effects in regards to what has been harvested from them could generate in the idea of what you would refer to as the symptoms that may relate to that of a hybrid child. So technically, no, but they do have in that sense the appeal in regards to the idea of what you would know as a hybrid being.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Jonas.
Yes.
I have a question.
Who are we speaking with?
Oh, it's Mike.
Yes, Mike.
Yes. I'm what I would call myself an inventor.
Yes.
A scientist, an engineer. That's really excites me.
Yes.
I think that's my purpose in life, to make technologies that are in harmony with the earth.
Is that why you were asking about the soul-to-soul bed?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. I'm
All right.
not doing any weird stuff. I'm just curious about it. But yeah. So my question is there a way to channel intelligence on demand? Because personally, I don't go to public schools. I just didn't find it very effective. So I'm thinking I'm basically doing a self-study.
The closest approximation we would give would be for you to look into remote viewing.
Oh, okay. I was attracted to that for the last few weeks.
Yes. If you are looking for something that represents on demand and something that is more so what you would know as blind subject targeting, this would be the representation. If you feel that channeling in that sense may not be for you, then you may want to look into the idea of remote viewing or remote perception.
Okay, can you quickly tell me good permission slips or techniques for that?
Well, this conduit himself is familiar with remote viewing.
Oh, okay, okay. Cool.
And
Cool.
again, there are many different options if you look around your internet.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to look through then. Um, my last question is at the recent San Bernardino shootings. I'm curious. Did anybody really
Are
die?
no more different than what occurred in France.
So like nobody really died, right?
Correct.
Okay. I've seen a picture of one of the victims, and it seemed really fake, like of some fake.
They are. They are nothing more than stage plays. As we talked about, all of these particular types of mass shootings, and we have talked about this through in that sense, much in regards to what happened with Paris. All of these particular types of quote-unquote mass shootings are nothing more than stage plays. They are fabrications. They are created through the idea in that sense, as we stated, because much of your other particular forms of opposing parties have been very, very limited in regards to what they can do right now because of the loss of their empires, that they are basically utilizing these particular type of staged acts because this is the only way that they can actually get around with accuracy to try and portray what they're attempting to portray. If they actually attempted to do it, it would fail. So basically what they are doing is utilizing these staged acts to create the effect of what it is that they're attempting to portray within your society. And in order for that to happen requires the idea of these staged orchestrations, not even quote-unquote false flags. They are simply staged plays.
Wow, wow. And I think they probably use clones. Is that true?
Not really.
Oh,
It
okay.
is more so on what you would know as, shall we say, typical dummies.
Oh, oh, wow. That's even more obvious. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Adronis. This is Wendy.
Hello, Wendy.
I thank you very much for all the synchronicities. You've explained many things to me on many levels today. Questions were answered that I hadn't actually asked out loud, so thank you very much. In addition to that, I was wondering if you could, I actually experience very high serious energy connections and also Yael and Shikani. And also feel, I thank you for the explanation, as I feel that I am one of those first daughters that you spoke of, and I wasn't aware of that until today, so thank you.
Yes.
Could you comment a little bit then on the symbolisms and the light languages as far as with respect to first contact? Is the sharing of these symbolisms and light languages does that assist others in the ability for first contact?
To many of them, in that sense, it opens in different ways. So think of it in the idea that one who has many gates, some of these particular gates may open in regards to the functioning of the light circuit, and in that sense, many others in that sense may open all the way. So it all depends in regards to the calibration. So as you understand, there are layers to people. And some layers in that sense can be bypassed, and some in that sense may only be cracked, but still remain intact. So it all depends in regards, primarily in regards to who is receiving this particular type of transmission once it comes through, and the effect that is being brought forward upon them based upon the layers that they have placed upon themselves.
Thank you. Yes, I understand then.
Yes.
Would it be then, my understanding then would be part of the contractual agreement then to be able to deliver these messages in a way for this, to assist others in this? I'm trying to understand my role in this, I guess.
Well, again, all that matters is for you to do what you do. In regards to how it affects others really is not your concern.
I understand.
So basically, if it rings true to you that your light language transmissions that you are performing is something that is in true resonance to your heart, simply share it in any way that you wish. Allow the universe to decide exactly who is appropriate for the fit to actually receive and hear and experience your transmissions. It's the same thing with us here. We're not expecting to, in that sense, communicate with all 7 billion of you, because we know that many of you are not ready to receive this particular type of insight relating to where you stand right now. And that's all right. But again, we are simply sharing this information, and we know that the universe itself, in regards to synchronicity itself, will align all the people appropriately that are in some type of tangible aspect of compatible reality that will therefore receive this information.
I see. So then would then it facilitate, so yes, then it would be facilitating first contact then for some in that respect. Then does for example, then me looking at a symbol of a that represents Adronis, then would that then facilitate contact with that energy?
It can. It may also represent something else that may be much more dear to you, that may represent a, again, relationship to the energy that we hold that is also more of a deeper relationship in regards to your inner circle forms.
I see, which of course would that would explain the heavy resonance I have with that.
Yes.
Then
so again, many people who may look at our particular form of blue shield with the golden tree of light upon it, it was through this conduit that he discovered that this is, in that sense, very much in association also to the Knights Templar. And then again, that represents a particular type of energetic as well too, for they too were guardians of knowledge. That's basically what our symbol represents, divine guardians of knowledge.
Yes, I resonate with that then, yes, indeed. Then with respect to the information that's coming through, these actual, the written scribed star languages, if you will, that you had mentioned once, you had referred to them as codexes.
Yes.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on the idea of these languages, because many of us are starting to receive some translations from them through other channelers, and we're finding the information quite fascinating. They're almost as if they're stories, or maybe understandings of other civilizations, or stories of different races, for example. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit more about that.
Yes, and the greatest way of stating is that they are actually memories. And that these memories are basically, in that sense, imprinting themselves upon your own and giving some type of metaphorical version relating to what you are receiving that is therefore incrementing itself within your own life. And so much of the light language transmissions themselves are, again, aspects for your DNA and are, in that sense, a codex for transformation. And through that particular type of codex, you are again seeing memories. This is why sometimes that it really cannot be translated through words. It is more translated in regards to how you feel, to what the effect has generated in that particular way. But many different races in that sense will utilize the codex of a light language sequence to giving you information in regards to other lives that you have lived that therefore contain memory and imbue themselves appropriately through dream state consciousness, through vision consciousness, etc., that will therefore amalgamate together with yourself and generate some type of appeal, some type of rapport that gives you the understanding about what you're going through in this hybridization of another life and amalgamating together with your own.
I see then. So that would explain then why there's an actual emotional response that many of us receive when either hearing or looking at these languages.
Fundamentally correct, yes.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We thank all of you for your questions at this particular time. We will now return to the conduit and we will begin with the question and answer application period. One moment, please. All right, guys. Wow, fantastic questions today. It's amazing. All right, so I will go ahead and go into the Q&A app. So again, for everybody that's still tuning in, if you guys haven't written a question yet, now is your chance. Just go into the Q&A app that you'll find on the event page just below the video area there, and you'll see the Q&A app, and you can go ahead and type in a question. So we will go ahead and take a look and see if there's any questions here. All right, got a couple. So much great questions today, guys. Thank you so much. It was really good. I was enjoying that so much. Eyes are like watering like crazy from all the energy. Okay, let's take a look here at Michelle. Michelle Euro asks, so with regard to interspecies trauma and being told that to know them would fracture you to the point of obliteration, is it okay to not know? Okay, I think I have an idea about what you're attempting to ask, so let me bring Adronis through and he can comment on that. We thank you very much, Michelle, for your question. The whole idea in regards to interspecies relationship in that sense is, yes, that there is, shall we say, certain forms of gateways that are being protected in regards to avoid, shall we say, karmic entanglements. And so this is why many guides in that sense at times will not reveal too much about themselves, because if they do reveal much more about themselves in regards to more of an involvement level, and you start to, shall we say, take that in a state of involvement mutually, then basically what this creates is a karmic cord. And these particular karmic cords can, in that sense, in many ways, prevent the aspect of that other receiver that is sending this information from advancing further. Again, they will be karmically tied to your plane. So this is, again, another reason why we haven't shared too much about ourselves. Very, very minuscule in that particular way, because if we are, in that sense, attempting to share a great deal of information relating to ourselves and sharing that with humanity in those particular ways, then again, that would karmically tie us as well, too, in responsibility. So many beings that function as guides are more so helping you. They will, again, give certain forms of introductions and helping in certain ways to give certain ways of understandings about how they conduct themselves or how they may have relationships with you. But very much most of this information on levels that may appear karmic are basically, shall we say, tucked away right now. It's not to say that at some point within your lifespan, or again, lives ahead, that you will receive more information in that way. You certainly will. But right now it is not tied together into the credence of what you feel you are looking to experience as the guides are assisting you and helping you to evolve yourself. So that is why in that sense that there are, shall we say, certain locked gates, certain vibrations in that sense that are not currently available to avoid any particular types of, shall we say, alternate live karmic entanglements. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle, for a great question. All right, so let's go ahead and move down the list here. Okay, here's just a statement from Even Star. If you are guardians of knowledge and your logo of a tree represents the tree of knowledge, then the Bible account of the fall because of eating from the tree of knowledge. Okay, well, it's more of a statement, so thank you anyways. Let's go on to Juggertron here. Question, how does Earth's sentientness relate to humans' collective subconscious relationship field of surreality? Right, very good question. Good work, guys. This is like a major, like super good question day. So, okay, so I will go ahead and bring Adronis through and he can elaborate on that. Again, the question was, how does Earth's sentientness relate to humans' collective subconscious relationship field of surreality? Okay, one moment. We thank you once again, Jason, for your inquiry. The whole idea in that sense about the sentientness of what you understand reality to be has been more conformed in regards to what you would consider to be as practical. So the idea of the conscious self holds the reign of practicality. The idea of surrealness in that sense, again, represents that of impracticality. So basically that is what separates the aspects together. Now basically the sentientness has basically reached a collective agreement in regards to a collective aspect of conscious self to determine exactly what is sufficient to reign together within the aspect and confines of conscious self-reality. And that is basically what you have all agreed upon collectively as well as what you have agreed upon individually. That which represents more so in the idea of logical means. That which represents more so in the idea of tangibility. Looking more into the idea of the appeal of the five-sense reality and getting understandings about what takes place there. And again, certain forms of technological aspects and morality programs that have represented conventionality and that have represented traditionality in that particular way. And therefore, this has been deemed appropriate in regards to conscious self-knowledge. Whereas, again, the subconscious aspect are leaking in certain forms of information that is therefore being accepted by the collective whole. And again, this is how you are having advancement, by allowing more of these particular belief systems on a collective level to be stretched so that more of the subconscious surreality in that way is now becoming graduate into the idea of conscious life perspective. So that is what we can share in regards to your question. Thank you. Okay. So I would scroll down the list here. Okay. Rick asks, hi, how are you? I'm feeling great, thank you. So just scrolling down here, seeing what we got here. Okay. Okay, Monty asked about the mass shootings. Adronis has already covered on that. So guys, we just need more questions, less statements here. Okay, so here's a good one here from Anthony. Adronis, are thoughts, emotions, and intentions versions of sound and light? If so, can you please explain the connection from your perspective? Okay, 1 second. We thank you very much, Anthony, for your question. The idea in that sense of, shall we say, thoughts, feelings, intentions themselves are in that particular way aspects of sound and light, but understand that they function together within a mind complex. And because the idea of the thought itself is that of a universal mind, it is more so in the idea that the mind itself represents sophisticated coding that therefore fragments the idea of what you would know as light sound harmonics, that therefore create holograms that are in that sense appropriate in regards to your comprehension of what you understand as a thought matrix. So basically, in the way of stating is that the light and sound are the configurative tools in regards to mind that therefore create patterns that represent the idea of thought, engineered through the idea within consciousness. And through the idea of light and sound, this therefore represents the expression in regards to the patternized ways about how these thoughts, expressions, feelings, intentions, etc. are carried, and therefore represent the idea no more similar than what you would know as your binary codes. That utilizing the idea of ones and zeros can therefore create the aspect of a certain program. But in this sense, this represents more of a holographic principle of patternization that therefore creates the thought, intention, feeling principles in regards to great sophistications of what you would know as light and sound that generate back into the one original particle, the one original wave that represents creation itself in regards to that of a universal dynamic to which you are experiencing now. Thank you very much for your question. Okay, I had no idea what he said, so you guys will have to go back on that. So very interesting stuff, though. Okay, we're going to take one more question before we wrap it up because we're basically at the 2-hour mark.
I have a question.
Okay, Alexander.
I didn't get to ask.
Okay, well, Alexander, we'll get to your question, then I'll take one more question from the Q&A here. So go ahead. Let me bring Adronis back in 1 second. Yes, we are here. Thank you. Alexandra, please feel free to continue with your question.
Yes, can you explain or clarify the subconscious mind in the mind when, let's say, there's a walk-in and it comes in the vessel after it's already been created and, you know, I guess somebody else was in there before. And how does that, what is the position and what is the duty of those, the mind and the subconscious mind when it's someone else coming in?
The duties remain the same. Now, the whole idea in that sense is the reason why there is memory that can often come together when a walk-in in that particular way occupies a body is because of the residual memory contained within the cellular data. And so basically it is the body's memories that are actually flooding into the walk-in's, shall we say, experience that is basically allowing themselves to occupy the body. So basically when a walk-in in that sense is experiencing residual memory, it is the memories that the bodies themselves hold as a capsule, as a particular encasement, to where they are basically resolving or in that sense understanding much of the memories that have been left behind from the previous host. But the idea in that sense of the conscious mind, subconscious mind, etc., still represents similar parallels. But because the body has been encased in regards to certain forms of karmic debris encased through memory, then much in regards to the walk-in's responsibility will be to resolve that as that currently exists in the way that is appropriate for them to advance within the body in regards to unfinished business left by the previous host's soul. Make sense?
Yeah, and when you were explaining the mind and the subconscious mind and then the higher self and then the source, is it like the latter as you explained it? I mean, I'm trying to picture it so I understand when I'm connecting to what, in what order does it come?
Well, think of it all together as one gigantic circle, in that the circle represents creation itself, and that all of these inner circles in regards represent relationships to layers of fundamentals. So the idea of experience and expression is just one of these particular types of inner layers. There is an aspect within creation that exists to where there need not be any expression or experience, period. It simply is the idea of energetic stillness. And again, this truly exists within the circle of what you would know as creation. So creation itself would represent the circle. All other particular aspects are the rings within the circle, very similar to what you would understand as a tree stump.
Okay, so there's no particular order, is there?
There is really no order in the way other than the orders that have been significantly agreed in regards to a universal dynamic design.
I think you should definitely give us a class on this. We need more.
We shall. This is exactly why we're doing this particular type of class altogether. But in the way of understanding that, again, all experience exists within the original circle of creation, and that everything that represents layers is based upon what is understanding in regards to the principle of logic, or into the idea of what you would understand as mind mapping in this particular way. And so you are mind mapping the idea of certain layers of continuity. Now, many of you see them as different levels in that particular degree, but truly in the way that it is expressed, all levels communicate with each other. They are not, in that sense, completely in a state of solitude of their own accord. Everything is a chain. Everything links together in that particular way. The physical realm interacts with the astral realm. The astral realm interacts with the ethereal realm. The ethereal realm interacts with the causal realm. The causal realm interacts with the light realm. The light realm interacts together with the soul realm. The soul realm interacts together with the spirit realm, etc., etc., etc. They all interact. They are all a chain. Again, this is why they are all within the circle of creation. All right?
Yes, thank you.
We thank you very much for your question. One moment now as we return to the conduit. Okay, so we will move on to the final question here. Okay. Oh, Cheyenne, I won't count this as the last question, but is there life on all planets in our solar system? Yes. In different realities. Again, we may not understand that, but there again, there are different realities of Earth where other life exists. There are different realities on other planets where other life exists. If we were to look at certain forms of continuity of, what's happening on Mars right now, is there indigenous life there? Yes. If we're looking at Jupiter or Saturn or Neptune or Uranus, etc., are there life on those particular types of planets? In our concurrent reality, no. But in other realities, yes. And there's more so the idea of life that evolves around the moons and orbital stations. So Adronis touched on this earlier. Okay, so for the last question, let's see if I can go right down to the bottom. My God, we got a lot of questions today. It's the last free class, so everybody's got to jump in, right? Let me see here. Okay, so we're just getting more statements. People are still asking about the flat Earth. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm laughing at that whole thing. It really is quite funny. Okay. Okay, so pretty much everything else I'm seeing is basically just statements. So Cheyenne, that basically just asked your last question. Is there life on all planets in our solar system? So again, looking into that in concurrent reality. So there's going to be a lot more information, I feel, that when it's going to be coming together in the next few years. In the next few years, we'll start to see a lot more revealing, a lot more disclosure relating to what's happening in our star system, and a lot of these particular types of secret space programs are happening. One recommendation I would give is, if you guys haven't already checked it out, is go to Gaiam TV and look into Cosmic Disclosure with Corey Good. I've already announced publicly how good he is and how accurate he is. So if you guys want to look more deeply into that, about what's there, this guy has lived those particular types of experiences. And he's a really great complement to bringing about a lot of this information in regards to what's happening in our star system, the secret space program, a lot of different races, etc. So he's a really good source of information. So again, guys, thank you so much for a really great class today. It was really amazing. We had amazing questions today. And of course, tomorrow is the winter solstice. So happy solstice to you guys, and hope you guys have a good one. Oh yeah, and it's Christmas too. I could care less about Christmas, but anyways, the solstice is exciting. So everybody have a really wonderful December 21st, 2015, and thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful class today. And again, more information on the upcoming class can be found in Reality Whisperer, but it's going to be happening 3 weeks from now on anymeeting.com. And again, you can go to my website, realitywhisperer.com, if you want to have more private sessions with Adronis. That's available. And again, there's a lot of other great sessions and, of course, free videos that you guys can check out as well, too. realitywhisperer.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend and have a great rest of the week. And I'll talk to you again soon. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.